Hey, what's up, stay-at-homies? Happy Tuesday. Let's add to our mandala. All right, so today we are going to do some scribble art, which is super fun, and there's a few different ways that you can do it, different materials that you can use. So I'm going to give you some tips and some ideas, and then you're going to take it and make it your very own. So first of all, you are going to choose what kind of paper you would like to do your scribble art on today. So I've got a few options. You could just use like normal white paper. You could use a different size. I've got some smaller pieces here. You could even cut it and do some miniatures. You might also have like some kind of sketchbook. You could do this in your sketchbook, or you could like rip a page out and do it. There's lots of different options, so just use what you have. So once you've decided on your paper, then of course you need to decide what other materials you're going to use to actually create the picture. So there's lots of options. It just depends what you have. So you could use markers. You might have Mr. Sketch smelly markers, which are like, okay, well this isn't my favorite smell, but they smell. How fun is that? You might use crayons. Love crayons. You could paint if you've got paints. So there's lots of options. I'm going to go through and give you some pointers for all of those different materials. So stick around. So I just moved over into my little art area. Hey, what are you doing? They are very entertaining. Oh, so distracting. I'm going to start with my actual scribble. Now I could use a black crayon to do my scribble, or I could use a black marker. I think I'm going to use a marker. Now something to keep in mind when you're creating your scribbles. I'm going to show you in a moment here. The more scribbling I do, the smaller my little sections will be. So you can see that I've got some big spots that I can color in quite easily, but I've got lots of small areas that will be a little bit harder for me to stay in those tiny little lines. So that's not a problem, it's just something to be aware of. So now that I've got my scribble, I can go ahead and color it in. Now choosing colors can happen in a few different ways. You can just choose whatever you like as you're going. Favorite colors, maybe colors that represent your feelings, kind of like what we're doing with the mandala. Colors to match a character that you like. I'm going to do a random color selection. So I've got just the basic rainbow colors here. But what I'm going to do is actually cover my eyes. Hello. I'm going to just cover my eyes and pick one. And it's going to be completely random. So eyes are covered. Ooh, green. So I'm going to start. Ooh, that's a big section. Sorry everyone, we had a little incident as I was happily coloring on my scribble art. Molly, the fluffy one, decided that she should go and knock over a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, then I forgot to hit record again. So here is my crayon scribble art. Okay, so for my marker scribble art, I'm going to actually do a little tiny miniature here. And same as what I did with my crayon scribble, I'm going to start with the scribble first. Now with some markers, it depends what type of marker you're using. If I do my black scribble first, and then go and color in all the sections, sometimes the ink colors will kind of bleed together. So that means, like, say I did my black line and then I colored with yellow, sometimes the yellow marker will start to pick up the black and it'll get a little bit mucky looking. So I'm actually going to do my scribble with pencil first. I'm going to color in all the sections with marker, and then at the very end I'll go back and do a black outline of the scribble after that. Cool. Now I'm going to do one that's a little bit different. If you're not really feeling the colorful vibe today, or maybe if you don't have a lot of different colors to choose from, you don't have the ones that you want, I'm going to show you how you can do scribble art using just one color and make it really interesting. I'm going to use some paint, and I'm going to give you just a couple tips. If you are using a larger paper, you might want to try to make your scribble a bit bigger. You may have noticed as I was coloring some of my other ones that I ended up with these teeny tiny little sections. That might be a bit tricky to do depending on what kind of paintbrush I'm using. Now the other thing you want to keep in mind with your painting scribble, if you are doing one with me, is that you'll probably want to let the sections dry before you do the one right beside it. So let's imagine that this was actually paint, not crayon. So if I painted this big green section, and then right after I didn't wait and I started to paint this one blue, do you know what might happen? All of that color might start to run together, and then I don't have my nice defined line that I kind of want for my scribble art. So the painting one will take a little bit longer because you'll want to let sections dry before you do the one right beside it. The other thing you might want to keep in mind is to start off your scribble with pencil, not marker. Unless you're using a permanent marker, you might want to talk to an adult in your house about that first. But if I use my Mr. Sketch marker that I've been using, and then I go ahead with a wet paintbrush, it's actually going to smudge all the ink from the marker because this is just a water-based ink. It's not a permanent ink. So I'm going to start my scribble with a pencil. I'm going to take my time filling in the sections with paint. You could use like watercolor paint like this. You could use, if you've got tempera paint, acrylic paint is quite thick. So if you're using acrylic, you might want to do it on something other than just a plain old piece of paper, or you might want to thin it out with a little bit of water. Maybe you can ask somebody to help you with that. I'm just going to use this semi-moist watercolor. One more tip I forgot to mention, if you've got some tape of some kind, if you're painting on just a normal piece of paper, what will start to happen when you get the paper wet is it'll start to curl and warp a little bit. So if you just tape it down, even just a few little pieces in the corners like this, makes a big difference. All right, so I'm all done my painting scribble, but before I do anything, I'm just going to leave it alone for a while, make sure it completely dries before I take the tape off and try to do my black outline. So I'm just going to leave it. See you in a bit. All right, so I'm all finished my scribble art. So as you can see, got my crayon scribbles where I just randomly chose the colors. My marker scribbles. I did pattern scribbles with just one marker, and then my paint, and I waited until the paint was all dry, and then I went over all of the lines with a black marker. So I hope you had fun, and if you are able to, if you'd like to, you could take a picture of your scribble art and email it to me. That's it for me today. So until next time, be brave, be kind, wash your hands.